You've served your time. You're out of jail. You step back into the world thinking it's over. But it's not. Now comes the bill, and if you can't pay, you go back. This is the story of how the American justice system turns freedom into a subscription service, charging the poorest citizens thousands of dollars for the privilege of staying out of a cell. It's not parole, it's probation, and in theory, it's meant to be a second chance. A way to avoid incarceration, to return to your job, your family, your life. But in practice, it's something far darker. Today, in dozens of states across America, people on probation are required to pay monthly supervision fees, drug testing fees, class attendance fees, ankle monitor fees, and late payment penalties. And if they miss a payment, it's not a slap on the wrist, it's a warrant, it's a cell, it's jail, all over again. Not because they broke the law, but because they couldn't afford the cost of being free. Meet Marcus. He stole a $200 stereo. It was dumb. He was 19. First offense. Instead of jail time, he got probation. 12 months. Seemed fair, until the invoices started showing up. $35 a month for supervision, $45 for drug testing, $120 for a court-mandated responsibility class, $12 every time he checked in late, $25 for every payment made online, $300 for a public defender, yes, even though he was declared indigent. Over 12 months, Marcus owed nearly $2,500. He made minimum wage at a car wash, barely covered rent. And when his hours were cut, he missed 2 payments. That's all it took. A probation officer flagged him non-compliant. A judge issued a bench warrant, and Marcus, who hadn't committed another crime, was back in jail. He was 23. He lost his job. He missed his daughter's 2nd birthday. He owed even more by the time he got out. Let's be clear. This is not justice. It's pay to stay. It's punishment by poverty. And it's not just Marcus. Over 4.3 million Americans are under probation or parole supervision, more than the entire population of Los Angeles. Many are under the control of private, for-profit companies that make money every time someone pays or fails to pay. This is the system that claims to offer second chances, but only if you can afford them. Because in modern America, you don't just serve your time. You finance it. And when you can't, they take you back. Marcus Davis was 19 when he made the mistake. It was a used stereo from a pawn shop, worth maybe $200. He was dared by a friend. He did it for the thrill. He got caught walking out the door. It was his first arrest. He'd never been in trouble. No priors, no violence. Just stupid. He stood in court, terrified. The judge looked at his clean record, his nervous mom sitting behind him, and said, "Instead of jail, I'm putting you on probation for 12 months. Be grateful." Marcus was. At first, the hidden price of probation. No one explained the fees. His public defender, a guy he only met 5 minutes before the hearing, said probation was better than jail, but within 2 weeks, Marcus started receiving bills. $40 a month for supervision, $30 a week for mandatory drug testing, $400 for a 12-week decision-making course, $18 for the mandatory background processing fee, $75 for a risk assessment screening. And if he missed a test or class, more fees, late, fines, payment plan, setup fee. And then came the ankle monitor, $300 installation and $12 a day to wear it. Marcus was working part-time washing cars. After rent and groceries, he had about $100 left each month. But the probation office didn't care. If you can't pay, it's a violation. 3 months in, Marcus was drowning. He skipped 1 drug test, not because he was high, but because he couldn't afford the $30 that week. Violation, he tried to explain. The clerk said, "That's not my department." The officer said, "Not my problem." The judge said, "That's on you." Marcus was ordered to pay $200 within 10 days or face jail. He pawned his bike. He missed a shift. He lost his job. He couldn't pay. He didn't show up. And on his 6th month of probation, he was arrested during a traffic stop for a technical violation. Jail again, this time for being poor. Not for a new crime, not for hurting anyone, just for failing to keep up with fees tied to a system that was supposed to give him a break. Marcus spent 11 days in county jail. When he got out, he owed more than before. His probation was extended. His fees doubled due to late penalties. His new job application was denied because of the fresh booking. He was now considered a non-compliant client, flagged in the system. He had a record. He had debt. He had no trust in the system. And worst of all, he knew he was just one missed payment away from being locked up again. Marcus's story isn't unusual. It's routine. Across the country, thousands of people are trapped in cycles of debt and incarceration. Not for what they did, but for what they can't afford to undo. Probation becomes parole. Parole becomes profit. And every missed dollar is another step toward the cell. This isn't freedom, it's financial surveillance. A leash made of invoices and threats. And the people wearing it, they're not dangerous, they're poor. On paper, probation is simple. Instead of going to jail, a person stays in the community, under supervision. They follow some rules. Check in, stay clean, maybe do some classes. Finish the term, and you're done. Sounds fair, right? Until you realize how it's actually run. Because in most states, probation isn't managed by the court. It's outsourced to private companies. And those companies? They don't make money by keeping people out of jail. They make money by charging them to stay out. In the US, over 4 million people are on probation or parole. Roughly 2/3 are under pay-to-report models. Here's how it works. You get sentenced to probation. A private company handles your case. That company charges you for everything they do. If you can't pay, they report you as non-compliant. That report goes to a judge. You can be fined more or even jailed. In Georgia, one company made over $1 million per month just from fees. In Alabama, a judge was caught ordering people jailed for $50 unpaid fines. In Missouri, private probation officers were found collecting court fees, supervision fees, drug testing fees, late penalties, and warrant recall fees, all from people making less than minimum wage. This is not rehabilitation, this is revenue extraction. Private probation officers don't offer counseling, job help, or mental health support. They act more like debt collectors. Their job is to collect payments, log infractions, recommend punishments, send warnings, file violations. Some companies give their officers financial incentives based on collections, which means the longer you stay on probation, the more money they make. The more fees you owe, the more pressure they apply. And if you fall behind, the court gets notified and your probation gets extended. More months, more fees, more pressure. It's a self-feeding loop, a debt sentence that can go on for years. Municipal courts are often complicit. Why? Because cities and counties get a cut. In cash-strapped towns, especially in rural southern states, probation fines are used to fund court operations, pay staff salaries, plug budget holes. Some towns literally balance their budgets on the backs of the poorest people. Judges and clerks have been caught coordinating with private probation companies to set fine levels high enough to generate profits, then jailing people who couldn't pay. All of this happens in plain sight. It's not hidden, it's not rogue, it's business as usual. And now, automation is making it worse. Some companies are developing AI tools to flag high-risk clients, auto-generate payment warnings, recommend jail time based on compliance scores. Just like housing and hiring, the criminal justice system is quietly being automated, without transparency, without accountability, and without mercy. It's no longer about justice, it's about scalability. Because when punishment becomes a product, poor people become repeat customers. This is not probation. This is digital debtors' prison, marketed as public safety, but engineered for profit. And the people who get trapped inside? They're not dangerous, they're just broke. The numbers don't lie. The people most likely to end up on fee-based probation. They're not the wealthy. They're not the powerful. They're not dangerous. They are the poor, black or brown, young and underemployed, single mothers, people with disabilities, people in rural towns with no public defenders. They are the people who, in America, are the easiest to punish and the least able to fight back. Most private probation systems thrive in the South: Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Tennessee. Why? Because these states often have underfunded court systems, lack public legal aid, allow privatized sentencing enforcement, depend on fines for local revenue. In small towns, judges don't see probation fees as predatory, they see them as survival. The town needs revenue, the court needs money, the probation officer needs a paycheck, and so poor residents become the AT. Black Americans are 3.5 times more likely to be arrested for minor offenses. Once in the system, they are more likely to be sentenced to probation, less likely to have resources to pay fees, more likely to be deemed non-compliant, more likely to be jailed for missed payments. This is not accidental. It's the legacy of over-policing, redlining, school-to-prison pipelines, implicit bias baked into judicial discretion. Private probation companies don't discriminate on paper, but the system delivers them clients who've already been filtered by race. It's modern-day debt-based segregation. Consider this: a single mom with 2 jobs and no car misses a class because her bus was late. She gets fined $100. She can't pay it. That violation triggers a warrant. Or a young man with bipolar disorder forgets to check in after a panic attack. His ankle monitor records non-compliance. He's jailed until his hearing. These aren't criminal behaviors. They're symptoms of poverty and survival. But the system treats them as willful defiance, and every missed check-in becomes evidence. Every failed test becomes proof. Every delay becomes defiance. Until the story isn't they're struggling, it's they're dangerous. We say the justice system is built on rehabilitation, but probation in these cases isn't about change. It's about compliance. It assumes you have stable income, you have internet, you can travel, you understand the paperwork. You can pay on time, every time. If you can't, it doesn't adjust. It punishes. That's how poverty gets mistaken for defiance and punished like a crime. These are the people being failed. A 20-year-old who stole a phone and ended up $3,000 in debt. A mother of 2 jailed for missing court-ordered classes she couldn't afford. A disabled veteran rearrested for not reporting in person despite lacking transportation. They didn't hurt anyone. They weren't violent. They weren't a threat. They were poor, and the system never let them forget it. For every system designed to exploit, there are people willing to fight back. And over the last decade, the system of pay-to-probation justice has finally begun to crack. Not because the system wanted to change, but because people forced it to. One of the first major strikes came in Ferguson, Missouri, the same city that made headlines after the police killing of Michael Brown. But long before that tragedy, Ferguson was notorious for another reason: using its municipal court system as a debt trap. Thousands of residents were placed on probation for minor offenses, traffic tickets, code violations, parking infractions. Then they were fined. Then they were fined again for failing to pay. The city collected millions. In 2015, a federal investigation revealed the truth. The court primarily uses its judicial authority as a means to compel the payment of fines and fees that advance the city's financial interests. That same year, the ACLU and Arch City Defenders filed a landmark lawsuit, Fant v. Ferguson, arguing that the city had effectively created a modern-day debtors' prison. They won, and the ruling had ripple effects. In Georgia, the company Judicial Correction Services, JCS, ran supervision programs across dozens of cities, charging fees, threatening jail, and operating with little to no oversight. In 2015, a lawsuit revealed how JCS collected millions in fees from indigent clients, extended probation indefinitely for those who couldn't pay, sent thousands back to jail without proper hearings. The courts called it an unconstitutional system of coercion. The result? JCS pulled out of the state. Cities across Georgia terminated their contracts with private probation firms. Following mounting pressure, some states began to act. Mississippi passed reforms requiring courts to assess ability to pay before jailing anyone for non-payment. Alabama banned jailing people for probation-related fines alone. Michigan implemented new court rules requiring judicial findings before extending probation for unpaid fees. California eliminated administrative fees for probation entirely in 2020. Some cities even abolished private probation altogether, returning control to public agencies with actual accountability standards. The media played a huge role in exposing these abuses. In 2014, Human Rights Watch published Profiting from Probation, a damning report showing how private probation created perverse incentives to criminalize poverty. John Oliver's Last Week Tonight aired a viral segment in 2015, mocking how the American justice system has turned into a payday loan with cops. ProPublica, the Marshall Project, the New York Times, and NPR all ran features documenting real lives ruined by probation fees. These stories helped take a quiet, bureaucratic injustice and turned it into a national scandal. Not all judges went along. In rural Kentucky, Judge Lisa Payne made headlines when she refused to jail people for unpaid court fees, saying bluntly, "I'm not a collection agency for the state, I'm a judge." In Ohio, Judge Ray Hedden refused to sign off on jail orders for failure to pay unless prosecutors could prove willful neglect, not mere poverty. Across the country, some prosecutors and public defenders began offering alternative compliance models. Community service in place of fees, substance abuse programs with full waivers, financial hardship hearings with flexible payment terms. These small reforms proved something vital. The system doesn't have to trap people. It's a choice. From coast to coast, grassroots movements have been rising. Groups like Southern Center for Human Rights, Equal Justice Under Law, the Fines and Fees, Justice Center, Debt Collective, Just Leadership, USA have been advocating, suing, organizing, and demanding change, state by state, courtroom by courtroom. Some host legal aid clinics for people stuck in probation debt. Others publish toolkits to help counties exit private probation contracts. Some simply tell the truth, one viral story at a time. Change hasn't come fast, and in many places, it hasn't come at all. But every lawsuit filed, every city that dropped a predatory contract, every state that banned the worst practices, proves one thing: this isn't unbreakable. It's not fate. It's a machine built by people, and it can be dismantled. By now, you might be asking, how is this still happening? How does a system so clearly broken keep going? The answer isn't hidden. It's right there, in budgets, bureaucracies, and beliefs. Let's break it down. Probation fees don't just fund private companies, they also fund local governments. Small towns strapped for cash, especially in rural areas, rely on these fees to pay for court staff, fund sheriff's departments, offset declining tax bases, balance city budgets without raising property taxes. For many officials, probation fees aren't just tolerated. They're financial lifelines. Ending them means cutting staff, means raising unpopular taxes, means changing the way power operates. And so the system stays. Probation fee systems don't require new laws to survive. They just need no one to intervene. Think about it. No state senator wants to campaign on defunding probation. No judge wants to appear soft. No mayor wants to kill a cash stream. No bureaucrat wants to overhaul a process that's always been there, so the machine keeps running. Each department only handles its part. The clerk processes the fee. The officer logs the missed payment. The judge signs the warrant. The jail takes the body. No one person pulls the trigger. No one owns the harm, and that's how the system avoids accountability. It's not one villain. It's 1,000 tiny decisions made by people who all say, "I'm just doing my job." There's another reason: America's addiction to punishment. We've been taught, subtly and constantly, that people who break the law deserve pain. Poverty is a personal failing. Freedom should be earned, not assumed. Second chances must be paid for. So when someone says he went back to jail for missing a payment, most people shrug. They don't ask if that payment was fair. They don't ask what else he was dealing with. They don't ask why the system never let him succeed. They just assume, well, he must have deserved it. That mindset, the idea that struggling equals guilt, is the engine of this machine. And until that changes, the machine keeps turning. Here's the darkest truth. For many players in this system, failure is profitable. A missed payment means a late fee. A violation means court costs. Jail means booking fees. Extended probation means more monthly charges. Every setback for the person on probation is a payday for someone else. The system is not broken. It's doing what it was built to do: to monetize freedom, to turn people into accounts receivable, to turn technical violations into profit margins. And worst of all, most of this happens quietly, far from public view. No viral videos, no breaking news alerts, just another warrant, another cell, another poor person stuck in debt. This isn't just a failed system. It's a self-sustaining industry of suffering, built not to rehabilitate, but to extract. Until we recognize that, we'll keep mistaking oppression for order. Marcus paid his time. 12 months on probation, $1,000 in fees, a job lost, a birthday missed, nights in jail for missed payments, not for crimes, but for poverty. And he's not alone. Millions of Americans, yes, millions, are caught in this same cycle. Not because they're dangerous, not because they're criminals, because they're poor. Because our system doesn't just punish wrongdoing, it monetizes the inability to escape. Let's ask the real questions. Why are people jailed for missing payments they were never able to make? Why do cities balance budgets on the backs of those with nothing? Why is justice administered by corporations with profit goals? Why is freedom treated as a luxury service only for those who can afford it? If someone served their sentence, if someone followed the rules, if someone tried, that should be enough. Anything more isn't justice. It's extortion with paperwork. What needs to change? 1. Abolish private probation. Justice is not a business. 2. Ban jailing for unpaid supervision fees. Poverty is not a crime. 3. Require ability to pay assessments. Every judge, every time. 4. Expand access to legal aid. No one should face debt court alone. 5. Invest in restorative justice, not punitive debt models. Help people rebuild, not reoffend. What you can do. Educate. Share stories like Marcus's. Break the myth that they must have done something wrong. Vote on sheriffs, on judges, on city councils. Local elections control probation systems more than federal ones. Organize, support legal aid groups, bail funds, and probation reform movements in your community. Question everything. If your city profits from punishment, ask why. Demand the receipts. This episode isn't just about Marcus, it's about the quiet millions. The single moms, the teenagers who made a mistake, the veterans with PTSD, the hourly workers, one missed paycheck away from jail. They didn't fail. The system failed them. And the worst part? It wasn't loud. It didn't break down dramatically. It just kept going. Invoice by invoice, fee by fee, warrant by warrant. You shouldn't need to buy your way out of punishment. You shouldn't have to rent your freedom month by month. You shouldn't fear jail because your card declined. You paid your time. That should be enough. And if it's not, then the system is broken. And we, all of us, have work to do.